Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. First off, thank you so much for watching my last video about my new truck. I got a ton of comments about what I should add, and I'm taking it all in. You know, I think it's really cool that y'all are so interactive and really help me to build my fishing truck, which is really cool in itself. Today's video, though, is a very special one for me because I can kind of share my story of fishing, how I got into fishing, and more importantly, what's going on right now. So make sure you stay tuned right after this for the newest video on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Well guys, it's officially, unofficially, I don't know how to really say it, but I'm moving. My wife, Valerie, and I, and Kane are all moving from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Toledo Bend, Hemphill, Texas, where I grew up. We're moving back. It means a lot to me because this is where I started bass fishing. This is where I learned and where I kind of grew from. Where I'm standing right now, it's very significant to me. And I never really talk about this stuff because I don't want to get sappy or whatever you want to call it. But right where I'm standing was where I caught my very first bass on Toledo Bend. I literally cast right there. As you can tell, the water's about 4 foot low right now. But my very first bass on Toledo Bend came, I was standing literally right where I'm standing right now, and I cast right there. And, you know, there's a slab right there. And unbeknown to me is there was a fish on a bed right there. I didn't know, it just kept swimming through the same little place. And this is how old school I was. I was throwing a yellow cricket Rebel crankbait. It was like this big. And it was my favorite pond fishing bait. And I pulled up here and I stood down here and I saw this. And it was like one of the first weeks we moved into this house. And I saw that bass sitting and swimming back and forth. And I kept throwing it over, and it finally eats. It's a 5-pound bass. Biggest bass up to that point I'd ever caught, like far and beyond. Not even close. But that's what ignited the passion for me. It was something as small as catching that bass right here, and now I get to bring it back to you guys. I get to bring my childhood, my memories, where I've caught these giant bass on Toledo Bend, and I bring it in your doorstep. You know, it's so unique. The opportunity I have is so unique. We're gonna build a house. We're gonna build our dream house on the lake. You know, it's funny because a lot of people think, you know, you buy a truck, you buy a boat, you're buying a house, you're doing all these things that you have all this money. No, it's not the case, guys. I've worked my absolute butt off. My wife just finished her degree as a nurse practitioner. She's worked her butt off. And it just goes to show you that the harder you work and the more time, blood, sweat, and tears you put into what you're doing, the more likely you are to have success. And that's what I look at this as, is that I'm gonna build a house. Between that house there and that trailer, or that garage right there, my house is gonna sit right there. My parents' house is right here. So I'm gonna have me a house right next to my parents' house. And I love it. I mean, my parents are getting older, so like I get to come spend some more time with them. Kane gets to spend time with his grandparents. I am so excited to bring this new life to you. Now granted, we're not moving immediately. We brought our first load yesterday, but it's the first step in a process of getting back to my roots, getting back to where I come from, what I grew up doing. I remember, it's funny, I'm gonna walk out to this dock right here. You see this dock? This isn't even my dock, it's my neighbor's dock. But I'm gonna walk out on this dock and I'm gonna show you something. You know, on Toledo Bend, you're not fishing rock, you're not fishing all these things. You don't even have to fish a spinning rod if you don't want to. But I remember growing up as a kid, and one thing that I really enjoyed was I made myself fish light line because I knew I needed to learn that skill if I wanted to be a professional angler. So I remember coming out on this dock and casting literally towards those ducks right there. See those ducks? Those fake ducks. I remember casting those ducks with 4-pound test line and a wacky worm. I think it was a wacky rig Cinco or something. I caught a 7.5 pounder on 4-pound test. And there's stumps everywhere out here. I mean, you can see them. See all those stumps out there? Those are all stumps. They're all out in this lake. None of this is clear. They're just under the water. The water's just at the perfect level. It's covering a lot of the stumps. But I caught a 7.5 pound bass on 4 pound test, and literally standing right here. It took me like 15 minutes to land it. And it was going in and out and everywhere, and I drug it all the way up on this bank right here. And that's where I landed that fish. And it's insignificant to some, and some of you are going to be like, oh my God, this is the most boring story ever. But it really ignited that passion for light line. I went against the grain. Did I have to throw a wacky rig on 4 pound test and a spinning rod on Toledo Bend? I mean, look, you can't even see in the water hardly. It's so dirty. You don't have to do that here. But I did it because I knew at some point in my life that it would make a difference. And then lo and behold, I go to Lake Cherokee and I win that event throwing a wacky rig around rocks with 6 pound test, not 4, but 6. And I win the event. So it's those little things that you force yourself to do that aren't always easy, they're not always comfortable. But it really, you can change the trajectory of your life by what you do today. And the amount of work and hard work and everything you put into it today, you can change everything. You might not see an immediate result. You might not see something for 5 years, 10 years. But the harder you push yourself and the more you do, the better off you're going to be. You know, there was always a goal of mine to move back home. I always wanted to. I love being around my parents. You know, they're my best friends. And this neighborhood's fantastic. It's just such great people here. I always wanted to come home. East Texas is my home. I lived in Tulsa for like almost 8 years. And it was great. And the people were great. And honestly, I don't know if I get this opportunity if it isn't for my brother. So my brother bought this piece of land right next to my parents. A friend of ours' house burned down right there. And my brother bought the land from him because my brother was like, well, one day I might want to move here, build a house here or something like that. Well, I called my brother a couple months ago, a month and a half ago. I don't even know how long it's been. And I asked him point blank if he would sell me the lot. It wasn't going to change our relationship if he didn't, but he stepped out of his comfort zone and sold me the lot. That right there changed the trajectory of my life from him accepting that deal. You know, he didn't have to do that. He did that because he loved me, and he knew that moving back home, moving back to Hemphill, was going to be a huge step in the direction of what I can bring you from YouTube. So thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Keely, so much for allowing us the opportunity to move here and to build here and to build my forever home, because that's what I'm building. I'm building my forever home. I don't want to go anywhere else. I love it here. Never gets cold. We don't have snow. I mean, look at the property, guys. And this is my dock. I'm going to show you my dock, guys. So let's kind of get loosened up a little bit. We got a little bit too emotional, and I'm not about that life right now. This is a positive video. This is about what you can do to make yourself better. But it also allows me the opportunity to kind of share my story a little bit with you. So this dock right here, this is a dock that is on my property now. I own this dock. And I want you to look how beat up this dock is. I mean, it is just destroyed. I love this dock. I've caught so many bass off of this dock. Like literally standing here, have an angle cast where I catch them. And as you can tell, I'm gonna probably have to do some work on that dock because that's not even safe. I'm actually a little terrified to walk out on it right now. But I've caught so many big bass right here. Like this lake is full of big ones. And I'm so terribly excited to bring to you what Toledo Bend, what East Texas means to me. So one of my greatest memories as a kid, growing up here on the shores of Toledo Bend, was fishing with my dad. My dad has been a big time hero of mine my entire life, and I definitely don't tell him enough how grateful I am for what he does and what he's always done for us, and that's to love us unconditionally and to always be there for us. But one thing my dad and I have shared in our lives is fishing, bass fishing in particularly. And we spend a lot of time talking about bass fishing, not as much as we used to, but that's gonna change. I'm about to spend so much more time fishing with my dad, and I'm so excited about that. But one thing that we used to do, especially growing up when I was in high school and college, I'd come home and we would walk these banks every evening. All these banks around here. We'd fish these docks. We have all these little sweet spots. We'd have a little contest. We'd do all these things and catch bass. He'd help me drop brush piles. You know, there's about 3 people in this neighborhood that really changed the way that I view fishing, really helped me grow up into the sport beyond my dad, beyond my brother. One of them has since passed away. His name was Tom Watley. I kind of considered him a second dad. He was always and will always hold a special place in my heart. Another one was Harold. Harold is currently fighting for his life. It's not looking very good. He was the very first person I fished a tournament with. I got second place out of his back of his boat as a co-angler, and we literally caught him on this bank. It wasn't a big tournament. It was a little club tournament. I fished a little bass club, and I caught him right over there. You see where that island is? Between that dock and that island? I caught him on a floating Bomber Long A that he had given me and told me about, and I caught enough to get second place in that tournament in the back of his boat. Harold was and is such a wonderful man. He's such a good dude. We lost Tom last month, and Harold's looking like his days are numbered. You know, it's really hard that I'm moving back after these guys have had such a rough go at it. Now, the third one's Paul Porter. Paul is still with us, obviously. His house is literally right there. He'll be another neighbor of mine. Paul is from southeast Texas, around the Beaumont area. Worked in oil and gas for his entire life. Now has moved up here full time. He is the reason I throw a straight tail worm. He is the reason I've looked at finesse fishing for spawning bass, because that's what he's done. He really got me into thinking outside the box, basically. He really opened my eyes to all things finesse for spawners. I say all of this, guys, and I talk about all these guys because I think it's really important to know where you came from and to understand where you came from and to have respect for where you came from. And to know that I'm coming back to where it all started makes me a bit emotional. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it makes me extremely emotional. Because this is where I cut my teeth. This is where I started my bass fishing journey. And I get to come back. You know, I get to build a house literally right there. Right there. I grew up. My bedroom was downstairs right there. I was growing up. So, to be able to move back home means everything in the world to me. First off, guys, thank you so much for making it this far in this video. If you get a chance, drop a like, maybe a comment. Tell me what you think. Have you ever fished Toledo Bend? What's your favorite lake? Maybe it's Sam Rayburn. What is it? Let me know what your favorite lake is. I can promise you one thing though, guys. I'm gonna be spending a ton of time shooting videos on this lake, Sam Rayburn, all of these lakes around this area, and bringing you the very best quality content that you deserve. Not even what you need, what you deserve, because y'all are fantastic. Yeah, you can get a bit emotional whenever you start talking about spending time with family and what they meant to you and how everything is, and I know I'm the same way. Like, guys, I'm a real person just like you are. I've had my fair share of ups and downs and everything in between. I'm very lucky and blessed to have a family that supports me, you know, to have a wife that is completely understanding of my dreams and aspirations and understands where I want to take my life and take this channel. I mean, it's crazy to know that my wife will come in and ask me, hey, how many views did you get on that video? What are you tracking on this? How's it looking? She actually cares about where I'm at and where I'm going, because she sees the passion that I bring into it. This isn't just some big show. This is how I am on camera, and I'm off camera, I'm a different person. What you see is what you get. That's just who I am, and that's how I always will be. I know one thing without a doubt. I'm going to try my very best to bring you all the best content that I can. And hopefully, in the meantime, we all have fun and we learn a ton of things, and which will help in turn make us better fishermen. Because I can tell you one thing, guys. I've been doing this for 15 or so years now. 20, 15, 18 years. God, I feel like I'm dating myself. But I've been doing this for quite a while now, and I learn something, I feel like, every single day that I'm out there on the water or from watching videos. I think you can learn from both. When I first started, I really felt like, man, the only way you're going to learn is on the water. You can read all these articles, but you can't learn. That's bullcrap. You can learn all kinds of stuff by doing your research and doing your homework. So guys, watch these videos, learn from these videos, and apply them to your everyday life. And I promise you, if you keep working hard, you keep pushing, you're going to accomplish anything and everything you want to. I'll make sure and give y'all updates as the house comes along and as we move back to my hometown. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to give you one more view of the lake. Bam! God, what a gorgeous lake. No doubt about it. Alright guys, see you at the next video.